So there is a significant difference between getting in shape and staying in shape. Now, likely you and most people you know have had some success with getting in shape. And by that, I mean they've started to build new habits, maybe started to walk more, exercise more, or even lose a few pounds. However, what's just as common is knowing that that same person has regained the weight and sacked off all of those healthy habits. Now, this is one of the biggest problems I see with people's inability to keep that weight off long term, and hence why you find yourself always yo-yoing between gaining weight and losing weight. Now, let's say that you are successful. You manage to shift all of that unwanted body fat and you finally get to a position where you're happy. Now, this is the separating factor between getting in shape and staying in shape, is what happens after you've hit your fat loss goal. This middle part here is called the reverse phase. And ultimately what the goal is now is to progressively increase your calories on a week to week or every other week basis to the point of where you're now no longer losing any weight. And what this does is it's now going to give you more freedom and flexibility with your nutritional choices. And let's say, for example, you've now increased your daily calorie intake across the last 6 to 8 weeks, and it's now gone up by an extra 500 calories per day. This is going to give you the flexibility and the sustainability that you want and that you need to be able to maintain the body that you've just worked super hard for. Across that period of time, you can also make subtle adjustments. So let's say, for example, you've had to go really high on your steps or really high on your cardio in order to achieve that fat loss goal. And the chances are it's not going to be something that you can sustain or want to sustain longer term. So again, you're going to start to pull back on some of these variables, bringing your step count back down from, let's say, 12,000 steps to maybe 8,000 steps, taking away 3 out of the 4 cardio sessions that you were doing per week. This is ultimately where we're trying to find that balance of a body that you continue to love, enjoy, and can thrive with, and ultimately balancing that out with a lifestyle that ticks all of your needs. So once you've made those adjustments now in that secondary phase where you've reversed, built calories up, you've made some adjustments to your output, steps, and cardio, now you're in a position where you should be sustaining within a healthy weight range. Normally, I put that weight range within a 0 to 3 kilo range. So let's say, for example, you managed to get your body weight from 100 kilos down to 80. Your goal now is to maintain within a range of somewhere between 80 to 83. And this gives you that flexibility that you need to be able to enjoy things like holidays, travels, and social events where the weight will inevitably fluctuate. You can't hit a set weight goal and then stick at that exact weight goal. It's not realistic, and once again, leads to unrealistic expectations, frustrations, and you inevitably hitting that fuck it button, which we don't want. We want a more level-headed and balanced approach. So giving yourself that range works really well. You know yourself that you sit comfortably somewhere between 80 and 83, and when you start to creep up towards that 83 or you're almost spilling over, you know that things have become a little bit more relaxed. Maybe you're not training as hard, maybe your nutritional habits have become a little bit more relaxed, or ultimately there's too much flexibility and you need to rein it back in. But that's a good balance to have for a longer term approach. Once you've ticked off all these markers in that secondary phase, you're now moving into maintenance. And this is where that long-term vision comes in place. You have everything in place to maintain that body that you've worked hard for. You have the consistent workout routine. You have your consistent meal choices. You know an approximate calorie range that works really well for you. And likewise, you have now a body weight range that you love and enjoy. How it looks, how it feels, and ultimately gives you the confidence to lead your best life. And this is ultimately what I find is the biggest difference between those that can get in shape and those that can actually stay in shape. And it's that mindset shift. This is who I want to be, and these are the sacrifices and changes that I'm going to make in order to make this a sustainable lifestyle change. Getting in shape is the unsustainable part, and then the sustainable part is how you're actually going to maintain that shape year round. And as I said, you've got to find that sweet balance of a body that you're ultimately happy and comfortable with. It might not be your peak physique, however, it matches and balances out nicely with that lifestyle that you want to lead. I live a lifestyle that gives me more freedom and flexibility so I can enjoy a few more beers or a few more meals out, and I'm willing to sacrifice a slightly higher body fat percentage in order to keep that lifestyle. However, you might be someone who prefers a leaner physique year round and a lower body fat percentage, and therefore you're willing to sacrifice things like alcohol or having a more flexible social life. And this is what everyone should be striving for. There should be that long-term vision for what happens after I've lost the body fat, what are the next steps? And if you want to find out about the 3 phases to getting in shape and staying in shape, I'll drop the link below for that as well. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for future videos.